Beyond Perception. This is David. Welcome. Thank you for coming. And let's begin our sharing. The abilities you possess are only shadows of your real strength. And perception, which is inherently judgmental, was introduced only after the separation. I think we already covered this in a good deal in the last topic within this chapter. But the only thing it adds here, in the last topic, it said that the abilities you possess are only shadows of your real strength. But now it adds that perception, which is inherently judgmental, okay, which means if within perception you cannot help but judge, was introduced only after separation. Since the separation, the words create and make have become confused. When you make something, you do so out of a specific sense of lack or need. Anything made for a specific purpose has no true generalizability. The key word here is specific. Okay? When you have a specific sense of lack or need, specific versus general, remember, within the one, everything is shared. There is no separation. Do you understand what I mean? So everything, because there is no separation, is shared. Okay? Everything. But now we're talking about specific, something for only a small part. See? Something specific can only arise when there is separation. The idea of a specific thing. Now we're talking about specific lack or need. This specific, it's a very strong keyword here. You must not lose sight of this keyword. Specific lack or need, yeah, is what then leads to making, image making, projection. And anything made for a specific purpose has no true generalizability. In other words, cannot be shared by the whole. It remains specific. Okay? When you make something to fill a perceived lack, you are tacitly implying that you believe in separation. Okay? And I think we can all see examples of this in just about a lot of things that we do throughout the day. We're always doing something to fill a perceived lack. Okay? The ego has invented many ingenious thought systems for this purpose. For example, we go to work to get money. Okay? We find a relationship or partner to fill a need that we think we're missing, like we feel lonely or we want whatever, you know what I mean? So there are many thought systems that to support this idea of specific needs. None of them is creative. They're all making, image making, projecting. None of them can be creative. Inventiveness is wasted effort even in its most ingenious form. The highly specific nature of invention is not worthy of the abstract creativity of the creator's creations. Remember what we said, at the moment we're only using a shadow. I mean, our capabilities now are only a shadow of our real strengths. Now this sentence is saying even the greatest, most amazing inventions we've ever come up with are not worthy of the creativity of the creator's creations. You see what I'm saying? In fact, even our inventions to this day are not really anything new. All we're doing when we're inventing something, take even the invention of the internet or video or anything, we're simply discovering the rules of nature, in quotes, and then applying them in a particular way. We're not creating, we're just making. You see what I'm saying? So this sentence makes sense. Even the most ingenious form of invention is not worthy of the creativity of the creator's creations. And the creator's creations include you and I, or us, or one. Knowing, as we have already observed, does not lead to doing. The confusion between your real creations and what you have made of yourself is so profound that it has become literally impossible for you to know anything. The confusion between your real creation and what you have made of yourself, the confusion is so profound that it has become literally impossible for you to know anything. That's how far off field it's gotten. Knowledge is always stable, and it is quite evident that you are not stable. I like the way the course just tells you, it leaves almost no room for argument sometimes. Here it's saying knowledge is always stable, and it is quite evident that you are not stable. Nevertheless, you are perfectly stable as the Creator created you. In this sense, when your behavior is unstable, you are disagreeing with your Creator's idea of your creation. You can do this if you choose, but you would hardly want to do it if you're in your right mind. The fundamental question you continually ask yourself cannot properly be directed to yourself at all. You keep asking what it is you are. Don't we do that? We keep asking, who are we? Who am I? Where did I come from? What's my purpose? We really don't know. Okay? This implies that the answer is not only one you know, but it is also one that is up to you to supply. Yet you cannot perceive yourself correctly. In other words, if you're asking yourself who you are, you're implying that you know the answer, and it is up to you to supply the answer. But what the course is saying is that yet you cannot perceive yourself correctly. You have no image to be perceived, as in who you really are has no image. Okay? It's like this, we keep saying, oh, what is God? I've never seen a photo or an image of God. And then people say, oh, you cannot conceive God. It is beyond conception at this level of our thinking. Now, what the course is saying is that you too are the same. You have no image to be perceived. Do you see how powerful that is? We keep saying, oh, God is so amazing that we cannot possibly think of Him in our mind. It's beyond that. It is an eternal mystery. Yet the course is saying that you and I are the same. We have no image to be perceived. The word image is always perception related and not a part of knowledge. Images are symbolic and stand for something else. The idea of changing your image recognizes the power of perception, but it also implies that there is nothing stable to know. Doesn't that fly in the face of, all this self-help, personal development movement we have on earth, whereby, change your life, change yourself, So it's just saying, fine, that just recognizes the power of perception, but it implies you don't know nothing. You know what I mean? As in, there's nothing stable about you to know. So it's quite a very interesting course to take, this one, isn't it? Knowing is not open to interpretation. You may try to interpret meaning, but this is always open to error because it refers to the perception of meaning. Yeah? Such incongruities are the results of attempts to regard yourself as separated and unseparated at the same time. It is impossible to make so fundamental a confusion without increasing your overall confusion still further. Let's slow down. That was heavy. Let's break it down slowly. So knowledge is not open to interpretation because it's certain, it's stable, that's what it is. Okay? And it's the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end. It's everything. So it's saying you may try to interpret meaning, but this is always open to error because it refers to the perception of meaning. Okay? So I think this is one of those paragraphs where once again I'm just going to let this lie for now. Okay? I mean, I think we all understand what it's saying, that we cannot hold ourselves as both separated and unseparated at the same time. And if you are to hold on to such a confusion, you just get more confused further. But I think there's something else in that paragraph that, you know, it will become more clearer the more we proceed. Your mind may have become very ingenious, but as always happens when method and content are separated, it is utilized in a futile attempt to escape from the inescapable impasse. This is one of those very, very tricky couple of paragraphs for me as well. Ingenuity is totally divorced from knowledge because knowledge does not require ingenuity. Okay, knowledge just is. Ingenious thinking is not the truth that shall set you free, but you are free of the need to engage in it when you're willing to let it go. You know, they keep saying that if you want to proceed further towards, you know, a peaceful mind, you must be willing to let go of wanting to figure everything out. Have you ever heard of that saying? So to me, this is a little bit of that. It's saying that, you know, we're all trying to be smart and ingenious and, you know, but it's saying that is not the truth that will set you free. But you can stop all this madness of trying to be very sharp and clever and smart by just being willing to let it go and being willing to be shown what the truth is, instead of you telling everyone, oh, I know the truth and this is like this, and telling yourself as well. If you're willing to just let go and just say, you know, I don't need that for my ego, I let it go, then you can be free of it. Okay? Yeah. Beyond perception. Prayer is a way of asking for something. It is the medium of miracles. But the only meaningful prayer is for forgiveness. Because those who have been forgiven have everything. Once forgiveness has been accepted, prayer in the usual sense becomes utterly meaningless. The prayer for forgiveness is nothing more than a request that you may be able to recognize what you already have. And may I add, who you really are. And may I add here, let's take a pause. I've seen it said before that forgiveness is totally unnecessary if you are to be in the place where you really embraced and remembered who you really are and who, in quotes, everyone else and everything else really is. You'd notice that you're one and that there is no lack and that there is no conflict and no offense. And then you'd find that there is really no reason to forgive. But since you're not there, then forgiveness is the stepping stone to get you there. Do you understand? You realize, you know, that, oh, that guy did me such a bad thing. And then when you forgive them, you realize, hey, that bad thing didn't really affect me. It might have affected my ego and the way I see things and, you know, but me, who I really am, it has not put a single dent or scratch. So that's why the Course is saying here, the prayer for forgiveness is nothing more than a request that you may be able to recognize what you already have or who you really are. Okay? Because you lack nothing at that level, as we've seen. So what it's saying that any other prayer other than that is utterly meaningless. You're asking for what you already have. It's only that you haven't recognized it. You see, you may have everything and not recognize that you do have it. And therefore it may be totally outside your even levels of perception. Let's put it that way. Now, in electing perception instead of knowledge, you placed yourself in a position where you could resemble your Father only by perceiving miraculously. You have lost the knowledge that you yourself are a miracle of God. Creation is your source and your only real function. The statement, God created man in his own image and likeness, needs reinterpretation. Image can be understood as thought, and likeness as of a like quality. God did create spirit in his own thought and of a like quality to his own. There is nothing else. Perception, on the other hand, is impossible without a belief in more or less, or more and less. At every level, it involves selectivity. Perception is a continual process of accepting and rejecting, organizing and reorganizing, shifting and changing. Evaluation is an essential part of perception because judgments are necessary in order to select. Isn't that amazing? The whole image and likeness, we've seen this before. So I don't think we need to really delve into that because I think that sentence or those sentences are very perfectly clear. Okay? What I think is important to know here is, you know, the last sentence. That's the one that really strikes me. That perception, judgment are necessary in order to select. Why do you need to select? Because perception is a continual process of accepting and rejecting, organizing, reorganizing, shifting, changing, you see, more or less. You see what I'm saying? Because it is impossible without a belief in more or less. It is born out of the belief of separation, which then, of course, hatches beliefs such as more or less and so on. What happens to perceptions if there are no judgments and nothing but perfect equality? Perception becomes impossible. Truth can only be known. All of it is equally true. And knowing any part of it is to know all of it. That's amazing. Truth can only be known, not perceived or theorized. Only known. And all of it is equally true. There's no levels. And knowing any part of it is to know all of it. There's no separation. Only perception involves partial awareness. And it's true. If you're looking in front of you, you don't know what's behind you. Partial awareness. I mean, do you want to argue with that one? Knowledge transcends the laws governing perception because partial knowledge is impossible. It is all one and has no separate parts. And may I remind you, we said before in this course that the body arose out of the need of perception, which of course arose out of separation. The body arose because of perception. Now, because perception needs to perceive something with something. So, let's say you're looking in front of you and you don't know what's behind you. You're using your eyes, something, to perceive something in front of you. Yet, those limitations mean you can't see what's behind you and so on, okay? Now, knowledge, on the other hand, remember what we said, it does not involve action, it does not require eyes to see, vision does not require eyes to see. So, this statement no longer looks so crazy that knowledge is knowing all at the same time, and that knowledge transcends the laws governing perception. It doesn't sound so crazy anymore once you realize, first of all, you have to remember that what we call knowledge here on earth is not what we're talking about as knowledge in this course. It's our so-called knowledge here on earth is like the stuff you get in books in small portions. It's not the same thing. Now, if knowledge does not require eyes, it is about vision, and vision is something of spirit, and it's it's beyond body. Now you can see how it can be possible from that level to transcend, to say that knowledge transcends the laws governing perception. Okay? It is all one and has no separate parts. You who are really one with it need but know yourself, and your knowledge is complete. Once you know yourself, you don't need to know the whole universe. Just know yourself and your knowledge will be complete. To know God's miracle, which is you, is to know Him. Isn't that amazing? Know thyself. That has been inscribed in the Oracle of Delphi thousands of years ago in ancient Greece. Know thyself. And ever since then, the ancient sages and wise ones have always been saying, know yourself. Not know your ego. know yourself. Knowing yourself and knowing your ego is different. Okay? But once you know yourself, seek ye the kingdom, and all else shall be given unto you. You see? Do you see how this fits with eternity? That's another question I just wanted to remember to ask you. Forgiveness is the healing of the perception of separation. Correct perception of your brother is necessary because minds have chosen to see themselves as separate. That's cool. What is forgiveness? Let's define it properly here. Forgiveness is the healing of the perception of separation. It's nothing else. It's not, I don't know, it's not pity. It's not, a lot of times we say, oh, I forgive him, You almost like in a judgmental way, I'm bigger than he is, so I forgive him. That's not forgiveness. According to the cause, it is the healing of the perception of separation. Correct perception is necessary because we've chosen to see ourselves separate. Spirit knows the Creator completely. That is its miraculous power. The fact that each one has his power completely is a condition entirely alien to the world's thinking. The world believes that if anyone has everything, there is nothing left. That's true. We believe that if one person has everything, there will be nothing left for the other 7 billion people. But this is completely an alien way compared to the way spirit operates, okay? The Creator's miracles are as total as His thoughts because they are His thoughts. Can you see how it's a total flip from the way we perceive things? We perceive things as limited, separate, tiny, we have to fight, survival for the fittest and all that kind of junk. But what he's saying here, that's such a crazy way of looking at things, and the way that things really are is so alien in the world's thinking. And I think you can appreciate that difference right there. As long as perception lasts, prayer has a place. Once perception ends, prayer is no longer necessary. Since perception rests on lack, those who perceive have not totally accepted the atonement or the atonement and given themselves over to truth. Perception is based on a separated state, so that anyone who perceives at all needs healing. Communion, not prayer, is the natural state of those who know. Communion, oneness. God and His miracle are inseparable. How beautiful indeed are the thoughts of God who live in His light. Your worth is beyond perception because it is beyond doubt. You do not perceive yourself in different lights. Know yourself in the one light where the miracle that is you is perfectly clear. There isn't much to say about this paragraph. I think you understood it. It's simply just saying that it's glorious where you come from and who you really are, and you cannot see that at all. It's impossible to perceive that. Okay, it's not, so don't even bother trying. You can only know yourself in the one light. And that's the only way you can get a sense, an experiential sense of who you really are, not through perception. So that to me was quite a deep topic, if I may say that, for me at least. But I hope we all gathered something from it. And thank you very much for your time. And I will see you in the next topic. Thank you.